Hey everyone. Boo. We're being spooky for a couple of reasons. First, we have arrived in Maine, and we all know that Maine is the home of
horror master Stephen King.
and the setting for many of his books. And this place we're in seems so idyllic. It seems like it almost needs some horror. Just a balance.
It's gorgeous.
We may be a little giddy. We want to kind of recount the events of the day, and I gotta tell you, it felt like a week. It feels like when I think back, it's like, what did I do on Monday?
This is just day 3.
You probably can't hear the loons in the background. We're right now overlooking a beautiful lake. There's a almost full moon.
Kamsar?
Pretty close to full moon. Yeah, Kamsar Lake.
Something like that, yeah.
Almost a full moon shining on us. There are loons in the background.
And bullfrogs.
Yeah, and bullfrogs. And there's apparently there's a bald eagle nest right across the lake from us. So it really can't get much more idyllic than this. But let's start in New York, because today we went through New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and now we're in Maine. So we did quite a tour.
We did quite a tour.
So
I didn't calculate the mileage yet.
So we woke up in New York. Anything exceptional? I'm just trying to go through the day.
Where the heck was it?
Where the heck was it? Mosquitoville. That's where it was. It was Mosquitoville.
It was.
And so we have certain rituals in the morning.
Paradox camping?
Paradox, yes. And I don't know what the Paradox was. It was a beautiful town, beautiful area. But
we were supposed to be at another campsite, but when we went there was nobody else on the site.
Yeah.
It was very odd. There was no power, no electricity. We had no cell service. And then we heard shotguns.
Yeah, that was the clincher.
Then we heard shotguns again, and we decided to leave.
We're Canadians. We don't like guns. So yeah, and we went back to that other campground. We were able to get a spot, but it had no power either. It had no water.
There was water available.
Yeah.
Just not far.
We did have some cellular service, which was important to us, so we could at least let our kids know that we were okay and just be in touch. And we had that backup power thing that kept our cell phones alive, which was cool. So yeah, then we wake up. I don't know. We have some rituals. We have breakfast. We have coffee. We have to take the tent down. Sometimes things have to dry, so it takes a while. And then you have to visit the washroom and wash up a little bit. And man, it's mosquitoes. It is just painful to do that with mosquitoes all around you. And anyway, we had already decided the night before, I think, that we were going to stay in an Airbnb tonight. And wow, I'm clean. I feel great. So that's what we were kind of marching towards. We kind of had 2 days of camping. We'd learned a little about camping. I think we're better campers now, and we will be better campers in the future. But we were looking forward to this Airbnb, and we thought it was going to be a shortish ride, if anything. Not short, but we were almost thinking, like, should it be longer when we started out?
Yeah, we did. Thought we should go further.
Yeah.
Turned out to be more than enough.
Yeah. So if we go through the day, we started out in New York, and we let we couldn't do any pre-planning because we had no power. So we just used our nav systems on the fly and just kind of said, hey, we want to go to. Originally, we were going for Bethel, Maine. We hadn't booked this yet. And so we said, take us to Bethel, Maine. And I think Suze has in her nav system to take the curviest routes. Or all the routes are curvy. I don't know. We hit curvy routes. But in New York...
I did put in the curvy routes.
In New York, actually, it was just nice. It was gradual curves. It was beautiful countryside, etc. And then we got to a ferry that I knew we had to go to cross that.
That number 30 yesterday, or 3:30, was beautiful.
It's amazing. But
the ferry.
But what I'll say is, there's what people call gentle. What do they call them? Oh man, and like curves that just kind of curve one way and curve the other way, and that's more what New York was like. These sweepers, that's what they call it. Sort of gentle, curvy sweepers. And then there's twisties. We'll come back to twisties. But before we talk about twisties, we got to this ferry to go across the river, and it was kind of cool. We got there, and they were just loading right up, and there was a ton of motorcycles. I don't know what that does. So there were a ton of motorcycles all lined up, and we got in our lineup, And it was kind of cool. So they were going across this lake you have to get across. And we were talking to one of the guys who motorcycled a lot, and good times, seemed like good people. And when we all unloaded, somehow we weren't at the back. No, but we pulled over.
But we pulled over because as we turned, I realized we were supposed to go in the other direction.
And all the other motorcycles drove away. And so here's let me set the stage a little bit. This road had had a shoulder that just kind of turned to soft shoulder very quickly. And in fact, the soft shoulder was a little lower than the hard shoulder.
6 inches at least.
Well, I don't know about 6 inches, but 2 or 3 inches. And so I mean, I'd parked on the pavement part of that. And we talked and did our thing, and then Sue took off, and then as I started to take off, the tire went over that. So lesson one, be far away from those things. And I tried to fight it. I tried to get it back up, but I was kind of coming at it sideways, and I wasn't probably,
you were so weighted.
I probably wasn't giving it enough gas, to be honest, which is often a key mistake. You don't want to give it too much gas, but when you get tentative, anyway. So I wrestled with it, and one thing led to another, and I dropped it. I dropped it gently, I think. I don't feel any physical, I can't remember sort of what happened with me. But you know, I just sort of dropped it down, I think, and I was fine. But it's a heavy bike, it's a big bike. And by the way, everybody drops their bike sooner or later, I think. Maybe there's some people that have never dropped. You've dropped your bike. You dropped your bike in Manitoulin. Yeah, I mean, it just happens. You almost have to count on it happening. And one thing I'll say is, for months, for years before this trip, we knew we were going to take this trip. And we worked out. We started working out regularly. And one of my workouts was with this in mind. I said, sooner or later, I'm going to drop that bike, and I'm going to have to lift it. And the way to lift it is to put your hands on it with your back towards the bike and lift it using your legs, because your legs are a lot stronger. Lift it up using your legs. And theoretically, a single person can do this. No, a single person cannot do it with a bike like mine. But Susan and I tried to lift
almost had it.
And almost had it. And then we decided, okay, we just have to unload some bags. And chances are, if we'd unloaded the bags and tried again, we might have done it. But at that point in time, a very generous local came by and saw us and said tentatively, do you need any help? And you know, you want to say, no, we're fine, go ahead. But in reality, I knew that with a third body, it would be done. And without a third body, I didn't know. And so I said, yeah, if you don't mind. And yeah, this gentleman came over and he helped us, and the three of us had it 2 minutes. In no time, like poof, wow, gone. Yeah. And that's how our day started. And you always feel like an idiot when you drop your bike. You just do. And it looks so sad. And I feel bad to this day that I didn't take any pictures or video. I wish I had, in a way. I've seen other people do it and say things like their bag is their bike is sleeping. They say he's just having a lay down. That's what it looked like. Bob was having a lay down.
I think we're tired.
Yeah, we are. But anyway, we got, you know how long this part of the video is going to be now. So we got him up on his feet, and we took off, and we had a great ride. So that was, we hit Vermont then, and holy crow. So that's the difference between gentle sweepers and twisties. And we have some video to show you of these, and it was just left, right, left, up and down mountains. And we were like in heaven. It was like, this is the best riding we've ever done.
We thought yesterday was.
Yeah, and it was amazing. And so we stopped for coffee at one point. I don't know if there's anything in track. Well, the only point to raise with that is we walked into this coffee place and there were plugs everywhere. And when you're on a trip like ours, you've got a lot of devices. And so suddenly it was like, oh, we could charge so many devices at once. And so we sat there for a while, and we had a good coffee, a delicious coffee. Really we had a bunch of water. By the way, it's still 34 degrees here during the day in June 1st. So crazy hot. So we're pumping water. We're having a bit of coffee, which is not a good idea on the dehydration side, but it is on the alertness side. So, and charging devices. And we hung out there a little longer than we normally would, because I think we were getting all that stuff done. But I think that's part of why we got a little behind in the day. But then we rode for a while. More twisties, crazy twisties. That's just...
One's in Vermont just before we got to lunch, the place where we had lunch. That was so cool.
It's literally hard to cast your mind back. That's why I'm so glad we took so much video, because it was like the Green Mountains is what we ran into first. So it wasn't just twisties. There'd be like mountains on the side. There were streams and rivers, and it was crazy. And it was amazing. And so suddenly it was like, oh, we could charge so many devices at once. And so we sat there for a while, and we had a good coffee, a delicious coffee. We had a bunch of water. By the way, it's still 34 degrees here during the day in June 1st. So it was just mind-blowing. It's like
Huge
every
rock faces.
every corner you went
gorgeous.
around, you'd come down corners and see beautiful vistas in front of you, and it was just like, I don't know if I know we've never ridden roads like this, and so it was crazy. And we were doing that after lunch too, having a great time. But it was at lunchtime, I think, when we decided we were going to get an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And we found this one.
This one. And we headed to this place.
Run by Susan. By the way, here's our Airbnb philosophy for this trip. First of all, we want to minimize Airbnbs, but I can tell you right now, they play a role after a few days camping. I feel human again. I feel clean. I feel, whatever. So I think Airbnbs are going to play a role, but we usually rent just the whole place to ourselves when we do Airbnbs. But this time we're intentionally going to just stay with hosts and try to get to know the hosts a little bit, have some social connection as part of it. Plus it's cheaper. We're going to have to do this quite a bit, and so that's less money. Sometimes there's breakfast involved. You get a good breakfast before you take off. So yeah, that was our idea. And so we got this place. The host, Susan, had listed that she was an ex-teacher and a musician.
Retired teacher,
and had this beautiful cabin on a lake, sort of right on our route. And again, at that point we thought we might want to go further than that, but it seemed really good. And sometimes it's just nice to book something so you have a destination. So we booked it. That became our destination for the afternoon. It took us much longer to get here than we thought, partly because there's so many curvies, partly because our nav system took us off course a few
couple of times.
You know,
Yes.
these things are going to happen. You're going to, every time you plan it and you think, oh yeah, that's easy. I think we planned this as 300 kilometers, and I think it was 380.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what it ended up being. I haven't checked yet.
I don't know. We stopped for ice cream at about 5 p.m. because it was really hot. Oh, watch the lights in there.
Whoops.
Yeah, there you go. It was really hot, and so we needed to cool down, and we also needed some liquids, and we needed some sugars because it was getting late in the day, and we were getting tired, and we knew we were getting tired. So we had a couple of ice creams, met some people there. Really friendly people
Very
there.
nice people. Everybody we've met so far has been awesome.
Everybody
Susan's
except the
really
person
nice.
that thought we were stealing their Wi-Fi. But that's a different
We never
story.
really met her. We just
No,
stopped
we didn't
beside
meet
her house.
She's like, you steal. Anyway, Susan's really nice. You're going to get to meet her. We're going to shoot some video with her tomorrow, which will be cool. Yeah. And then we knew, by the way, that we had a mile to come into this place that was hard-packed dirt. And I reached out to Susan ahead of time and I said, is it like loose dirt or like loose rock? Because we knew we were going to be tired and late in the day. But she said, no, it's hard-packed dirt. And it was fine. So we came down. We arrived here.
The place is very cool.
Chatted with Susan for a while. Very, very friendly. Had some leftover. So we had great lunch at this, I don't even remember what it was called, but it was a Mexican place. We had veggie enchiladas. And there was so much that we took some home and we heated that up, and
That's what we had for dinner.
that was dinner. So lunch and dinner were the same thing, and we had showers.
Felt really good.
Which is one thing we can say about this kind of living, is that you get used to being a little grimy. I mean, that's how people used to live that way, right? That's what Sundays they'd clean up and go to church, and they'd be clean. It was a day of rest, and this feels like Airbnbs are
Now,
something.
to be fair, a lot of the campgrounds we will stay at will have showers. But the one we were at last night didn't have a shower.
But when you're on the road day after day, you don't necessarily
Well, you don't, but we
shower.
had-
You just get used to being dirty.
We don't usually go 2 days without a shower, though.
Yeah. But dirty's okay, and then you get to clean up, and you're like, whoa, that feels like a luxury, and there's a bed here, like a bed. A bed.
Okay.
That's a luxury all of a sudden. It's great. So everything, it was one of the best days of our life, I think. It's certainly our motorcycle riding lives. It was just amazing.
The skidders are coming in.
Skidders are coming out. They're not getting me so much, but yeah.
They like me.
But there's always a cloud of some sort, and our cloud is we've got a long ride to go tomorrow, and we hear it's going to rain at some point. Now, not necessarily where we are, but certainly in these local areas it's going to rain by about 10. So we'd like to get out of here. That doesn't mean we're going to escape the rain, but get out of here relatively early. And we're going to Sue's mom, who's making a nice vegetarian pizza for us, and she's really excited about us coming. So we got to try to get there. But how many kilometers is it there?
Oh, I can't remember. Over
Over
400.
Over 400?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're shooting for 300 a day. We're ending up more than 400, but we really wanted 300. But it's just how it's turned out.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
it's
it
going to be a
wasn't.
long
I
day.
can't remember.
It's gonna be a long
I
day.
looked
We're
at
gonna
so
try
many
to get out
different
early.
distances.
If we get out early and if the rain doesn't slow us down too much, we should be okay. But if the rain, if it turns out to be horrible,
We've got
we'll
gear
stop.
that's
Well, we got gear.
prepped for the rain, so
Yeah, and we'll ride as safely as
bugs
we
are
can,
coming.
as long as we can. But if we have to stop, we'll stop too. Sue's mom would understand, but we're gonna try not to.
Maybe.
So that's for tomorrow's adventures. Stay tuned to see what happens. Will we drop the bike again? No, I don't think so. But will we drop the bike again on this trip across Canada?